Hey, so in this video, what I want to talk about is how to manage the low trust economy, and what I'm doing currently in 2025 to actually continue to build my email list, my customers, and my clients. So in some other video, I've spoken openly about my Modern Maker operating system and how I run a marketing driven business, not a sales driven business. And the core of that initially was sort of me identifying the difference between leads, clients, and then adding customers in between. So for the longest time ever, I would, I've got 50,000 followers now on LinkedIn in this present moment, give or take. I would do like a whole bunch of lead magnets that didn't really relate to my core offer, and I would try to build a pool of email subscribers, right? So I had, I think about 14,000 people, 14,000 people on my email list through the freebies, and then ended up wiping out so many over the last week or two. I'm now down to about 5,600 because most of those people either didn't open the emails or didn't buy, or, were just in there with fake emails and whatnot. So it was a strategy that was okay because you can then nurture a lead and turn them into a client. But one thing that I found over time that worked really well is instead of trying to nurture a lead the conventional way, maybe in the DMs or a free workshop, having sales calls and whatnot. I haven't actually done a sales call in probably 2 years now, and I'm probably terrible at them if I'm honest. But one thing that came to mind for this video is, how do we actually manage a low trust economy? Because what happened over time is, if you were around when Facebook ads were popping in their initial days, you could just run an ad to a 10K program, and then people would just go, from leads straight from the creative into the 10K program, and happy days. But people started making those irresistible promises. They started basically upping or one-upping each other, and then the irresistible promises started becoming rubbish, right? So gone are those days. Now people are a lot more sophisticated in the way that they buy and the way that they consume information, where they will second guess things. So smaller promises are actually easier to keep and easier to buy into, and they're a lot more believable, right? Like, rather than saying, I'm going to help you make $1 million in the next 90 days or in the next year, it's much more believable to say, I'm going to help you make $100 to $250 per day using this system as an example. There's weight loss or relationships or money or whatever industry you're in. The smaller the promise, the more believable it is. And what I have done is try to segment or look for where the intent of each buyer is in the cycle, right? So by building an email list of customers, it is so much more valuable than what I used to do in the past, which was try to get a whole bunch of leads and go for volume, and then try to pick out of that pool people that would then turn into customers and clients, versus aiming straight off the bat to make an offer. I call it the micro snack cartel, offering people little snacks from the moment they opt in so they can become a customer, because it's much easier to actually talk to someone who's a customer who has committed than try to convince that lead to become, a customer or a client. So I started doubling down on that. And one thing that I've done recently is sort of segment in my own head. If I run low cost $5 ads, that is what I call a campaign, right? So whether I decide to show up today or not, if the campaign is running, I am getting $9 customers every day, versus me having to show up on LinkedIn or any other platform organically to do that. So on the other side, I am now showing up building content as brand, right? So I get to talk about my daughter, about my wife, about my love for music and the guitars and the running, and obviously my business coaching knowledge and what's happening as I live business and life. I'm sharing my lived experiences on both ends. But because I know I'm running some campaigns over here, then my content is building brand. I don't need content to do all of the heavy lifting for me. So the other thing that I noticed is when you start to demonstrate, you're showing up, you be, by existing, you do really cool stuff. You show other people by demonstrating what you're doing, and then you invite them to give them what you have. So in that process of demonstrating, people are naturally pulled towards the thing you're showing them. And that is how I'm dealing with my content over the last few months. It's really, really working in the sense that people just want to, bite a little bit of the thing that you're showing them, but also the fact that I am building a customer list actually gets people to be indoctrinated in my world very differently. And they go, actually, upon reflection, another mistake that I did is the thing that I would sell them in order to become a customer had nothing to do with my core offer. So sometimes it was a little disjointed. Nowadays, I aim to actually give them something that very heavily ties into the core offer. So it's like the natural next step. But by having such a low commitment customer offer at, let's say, $9, I'm able to show them and demonstrate by spending some time with them, whether it's in a course or in a video, in a long form setting where I'm getting them to do something. It's no longer about trying to shift their belief. It's actually getting them to take action and do something. And then they usually come back and they say, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. So the belief shifting happens after you get them to take the action. And that has been like a big opening moment for me, because I don't have to do the belief shifting. I just have to show up as I am, show what I'm doing, they buy, and then the belief shifting happens. So for example, somebody came to me earlier and said, I don't believe I can sell without sales calls. After they bought the Google Doc offer blueprint, which I can drop in the description below if you want to take a look, they came back 2 weeks later and said, hey, Jacob, I actually sold without sales calls. It worked. I can't believe it. So that's what I mean by the belief shifting happening later. Now, those conversations lead to more questions, or when they start to implement things, I'm now giving them an experience. And I've found, for example, I might sell workshop replays for $9 or anywhere between $9 to $99. I'm giving people a sense of what it's like. And sometimes I do them live as well. So when they come, I don't care for time. It might be like a half-hour workshop, a 1 hour workshop, and then there's a Q&A. And I never shut the doors until everybody's answers are answered, everybody's questions are answered. So that gives them a true fragment of time, if you like, of what it would be like working together longer term. So in that process of demonstrating and building a customer list, the actual client acquisition that happens after that is a lot easier to handle and a lot easier to talk and manage people who have already bought something. So my biggest takeaway is when you build a system, try to add the customers in the middle of the mix, because it's so much easier to sell low ticket products like that. Show them by demonstrating and then presenting what the natural next step is. So I wanted to leave you with that thought today. I thought it was a little bit different, but it was off the cuff, and I thoroughly enjoyed sort of piecing this together. If you have any questions, you can drop them down in the description below. Feel free to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.